There's this thing I always kind of say to myself. It goes something like, I've been sad with money and I've been sad without it. So if I'm gonna be sad anyways, I'd rather be sad with money. And that's always kind of got me by, but I've been kind of in this weird point in my life for a while. And it's a point where things are actually supposed to be really good, or it's supposed to feel really good, right? Like, I have this pretty good group of friends actually, and I'm dating consistently, and I'm making insanely good money, and I'm working out consistently every week, lifting really heavy and making gains. I've got a nice sized apartment, and I'm saving up for a home which I should be able to buy within the next 12 months or so, which honestly, in this economy is kind of crazy, and I'm grateful to God for that. I mean, I have my own fully paid for car and I have no debt. I'm active in my church and I regularly volunteer there and other places. And as I'm writing all of this out and then eventually saying it into a microphone to make a YouTube video about it, it seems like I'm trying to show off. And honestly, it almost feels like I'm trying to show off more to myself than whoever is reading or listening to this. But that's not the case at all, actually. And it's more that what I'm saying is a preamble or a sort of premise to the thesis of this piece. It's a kind of context, and it's really important context because everything I just told you about are things I used not to have. I used to be very poor. I used to have bad debt. I used to have car loans or no car at all. Housing expenses used to all but cripple me financially month in and month out. And while I've always had family, friends, and women in my life, those relationships used to be far more toxic. And I used to tell myself that this is why I was depressed. I mean, on its face, it seems like pretty good reasons to feel depressed, right? I used to tell myself that if I could just cut out the toxic people and build high quality relationships, that I'd be happier. That if I could just make more money and have more of it in the bank, a lot of what caused my depression would just magically disappear. That if I worked out more and ate better, my body would become more naturally resilient to the causes and symptoms of depression. If I go to church and I donate my time and money to them, I'll feel like a better person. I will be a better person. But now I have money, good money. It's not earth-shattering amounts of money, but it's good money, and I still feel poor. I have better friends, better familial relationships, and more quality intimacy, but I still feel alone. I work out like I'm training to fight Broly, but I still feel weak. I sleep better, I eat better, yet I still lack energy. I give time and money to the church, and I attend 2 or 3 times a week without ever missing a Sunday. But I couldn't be further from feeling like a good person if I tried. Now, don't misunderstand me. You should work out and you should sleep better. You should try to earn more money if you can, and you should definitely be close to God. And I do believe on some level that my life is better for improvement in these areas. But even in saying that, I think I really mean that life is different as a result of those changes, and that the word better would be more of a descriptor that I use to qualify that difference. But I'm still depressed. I'm still as depressed as ever. And so I've been thinking a lot lately about why that is. And I think it's because situations and circumstances change how your life feels during a specific point in time. They change the descriptors you'd use to differentiate those specific points. But those situations and circumstances, those conditions, they don't really make your depression any better or worse. At least not in my experience. They just sort of augment the depression. And this rumination lately has kind of forced me to realize that I've always sort of just been depressed. Even going back to before my adolescence, I can remember intense episodes of what I now know as depression. Man, I still remember the very first real episode of it that I will have to talk about another time. But I didn't know what that was for so long in my life until it clicked one day and I was like, oh, holy crap, that was just an intense depressive episode. And I don't even think I was in double digits of age yet. So it's kind of insane to, look back and really think about that. But the point is that nothing has really changed it since that time in my life. It's never gotten worse, but it's never gotten better. Sometimes it just was better, and sometimes it was just worse. It's kind of like the rain, honestly. Sometimes it rains, and then sometimes it doesn't rain. And my parents getting a divorce during my teenage years didn't make it worse, But getting a full ride scholarship to play Division I football at an Ivy League university didn't make it any better either. Being a poor graduate didn't make it worse, and making six figures doesn't make it better. Friends, women, family, they don't make it worse, but they don't make it better either. So, like I said, I've just really been thinking lately. Partly, I've been thinking about the why. Why doesn't the depression go away? Why doesn't anything fix it? And I've kind of touched on that in this essay so far. And for the moment, I can accept that depression is a kind of ever-present condition, kind of like the way the chance of rain is ever-present. But the other part that I've been thinking about is the what. What can I do in the face of the truth that it is an ever-present condition? So here's where we detour a little bit, but it'll make sense by the end of all of this. So there's this lady at my church, and a couple of weeks ago, I was walking in to go to church, right? And she asked me, how are you doing? And I've always been the type of guy to say something empty in response to that question, like, oh, I'm busy, but the good kind of busy, you know what I'm saying? Or, oh, I'm blessed, God is good, or I'm well, how about you? But I don't know. There was something about this specific moment, and maybe it's the way she asked. It's one of the only times that I've ever been asked that question and felt like the person asking cared to know the actual truth. And then that combined with the fact that I was honestly just kind of too emotionally exhausted to lie to her. Even though it would have taken more words to explain the situation than just saying fine, it takes more emotional and spiritual energy to lie than to tell the truth about how you really feel. And that's kind of crazy, because that's the thing too, isn't it? Lying about it actually costs us more than I think we realize. But again, that's kind of a discussion for another day. So anyway, I told her, and I was like, I've been sort of having a bit of a depressive episode lately, and we started to talk about it. And we got into the details of what specifically was going on. And we had a really genuine and open conversation about all of it. And then she started giving me a lot of wisdom on what I could do to confront and deal with it. Because she told me a lot that let me know that she's kind of been in that place, and she's had a lot of experience dealing with that, had a lot of experience with people in her family dealing with it, and just her own personal experiences and stuff like that. And I found that wisdom to be so valuable and absolutely what I needed to hear in that moment. And then it got to a point in the conversation where we were talking about therapy, and she suggested it, and she asked if I had ever tried it before. And I have to say, of all the things that I've ever tried when it comes to dealing with mental health, therapy is one of those things whose therapeutic effects are the most reliable. I will have to talk about that in another video as well. The thing with therapy is that I'm just very inconsistent about scheduling and maintaining my appointments, but it is incredibly invaluable in combating depression. And I gotta say, I think it'd be irresponsible for me to go any further without saying very clearly that if you deal with intense depression, therapy is something you should absolutely explore. But then the other thing she talked to me about was that maybe I should try medicine for my depression. And that's when I got to a kind of spiritual impasse in the conversation, because I've always felt weird about medication for depression, right? And it's not because of what other people might say. Especially being a Nigerian, there's a lot of scrutiny and taboo around facing your mental health squarely. People in my culture will just flat out ignore their mental health because they think dealing with it will make other people call them crazy or gossip about them or say things about them. But I don't care about that. I genuinely actually don't give a shit what people think about me, to be honest. And that's part of why I'm determined to make this essay a video that I will post to my main YouTube channel. No. The thing that makes me hesitant to take medication for depression is how it will make me view myself. Because taking medication means I couldn't fix it on my own. All of that work to improve my relationships with people and God, all the effort to build my body and my bank account, and it didn't fix shit. Taking medication for my depression means I was too weak to fix my depression on my own. Or at least that's how I felt until recently, until concluding that conversation with that very kind and very wise woman in my church. And that, plus this recent rumination, has left me with the understanding that depression isn't about weakness or strength at all. It's not about weakness or strength physically, and it's not about weakness or strength mentally. Depression is a condition that simply exists. It is like the rain. It doesn't matter how strong or weak you are, it rains on all of us the same. but you can prepare against the rain. You can get an umbrella, you can wear a rain slicker. You can make sure to check the weather so that you don't wear your icy white Air Force Ones on the day that there's gonna be a damn thunderstorm. And to me, that's what things like health and wellness are. That's what good relationships are. That's what therapy and medication are. They are preparations against the rain. I don't think we are weak for using umbrellas. Like, imagine thinking someone is soft for wearing a raincoat during a storm. No, that would be ridiculous. So yeah, I think I'm gonna start going back to therapy more consistently, and I will definitely bring up the possibility of taking meds for it. And I also think something incredibly helpful for me personally was writing all of this out and then eventually sharing it on the internet, because there's just always been something about like creating and then sharing what I actually make that's always been incredibly therapeutic for me. So if you made it to the end of this video, I just want to say thanks. And if you ever need someone to talk to, you can chat with me in my Discord, which you can find linked in the description. Have a blessed day.